again.
All right, man. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm super stoked on the new Rings album, man. You guys killed it. Congrats on that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. I'm also a huge fan of your other work in animation sequence as well.
Oh, cool. You're able to check that out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Uh when did you launch that? Was that 2018? You started that?
Um, I started kind of messing around with it in 2014, but
Okay.
2018 was like the first official release. Yeah,
Oh, right
with the
on.
first EP. Yep.
Yeah, nice. I've Oh man, my favorite track. It's Meriden Channels. I
Oh,
can't.
Meridian Channels. Yeah.
Yes, love that track.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
So, how did animation sequence, like, how did that start? Where did that stem from? And is that like completely your project? Like it's only touched by you?
So animation sequence started, I would say around the time we were doing the Lugal Kien album for Rings of Saturn. And yeah, it was just a bunch of ideas that just kind of didn't really fit the mold of that album and the theme of that album. So I kind of had a more melodic approach to it. So I kind of just was like, you know what, this doesn't really fit Rings, but I want to use this material still, so I'll just put it in this other project. So yeah, and yeah, it's pretty much been me from the beginning. I have like obviously worked with some drummers on it. My friend Kyle Potter back in Spokane that I grew up with, did the first two EPs, and then Mike Caputo, who was with Rings for a bit and is currently in Brand of Sacrifice, did the drums on the New Earth Aura full length, and yeah, I worked with some producers with it. My friend Caleb Brenchy and with sorry, I don't know. I'm having a blank here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Sammy Morales. Yeah, Sam Morales did the New Earth Aura album and the new Rings of Saturn self-titled as well, and the Embryonic Anomaly re-release. Worked with him on a couple projects. Working with some new producers for the new animation sequence. So that's kind of why I had a little mind blank. I'm like, wait, I don't want to mention the wrong guy. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. So I always wanted to know, like, especially with like Ian's departure, are you guys just like, is the plan now just straight instrumental, or are you guys like kind of bringing Peter back? Because I know like with Peter, you guys did the whole re recording of Abducted. Is there any
Mhm.
plans with Peter, or is it just going to be straight instrumental for
Um,
the future?
Originally, before the pandemic kind of got in the way of plans, there was just we just wanted to celebrate the re-release of the first album with Peter on tour,
Yeah.
but with that having to be delayed over and over and then ultimately canceled, those plans just kind of fizzled out. Unfortunately, which we could have done it and it would have been great, but yeah, we just kind of have to move on since we already moved on from that release to the instrumental new album. The next stuff we do will also be instrumental. We're not, we're pretty open minded to collaborations with people in the future. Maybe there'll be vocals, but for now, it's pretty much strictly instrumental because we want to just experiment and see what people's reactions are to certain songs. We want to try different styles, break the mold that we've already kind of created for the first five albums, and really just explore. Hey, let's try to write a song in this scale we've never done before, or like take influence from a band that has never had any kind of inspiration in our songwriting process with an album, or go this direction, or try this genre or that, and just really it's really about experimenting, doing what we want to do now that we're independent and we're not under any label or anything like that. It's just kind of we just kind of want to enjoy it for ourselves and see how the fans react to it, and hopefully put out music that also still resonates with the fans. We know it's different without vocals, and we understand, like, people are going to have the opinions, they're going to like the old stuff, but hopefully, hey, if they still like the old stuff, they can still jam that, and if they like the new stuff as well, that's awesome. And even better if we get new fans because of the new direction, and that's a huge plus as well. So yeah, I'm having a great time with it. Everyone's having a great time with the new direction, the last tour we did, and yeah.
Yeah, dude. I personally loved the new chapter in Rings of Saturn. Like, I really loved it's Get 'em, right? Or get
Jadim.
Jidim. I loved
Yep.
that record, and of course, with you coming back with that record and everything, I like the delivery on that was insane. And then I heard you guys were still continuing without a vocalist, and I was like, that is honestly, I've always kind of seen that with Rings of Saturn because you guys are such a musical based band, and
Hmm.
when you guys started like releasing the instrumentals of like your previous albums, and then I checked this album out, and like I could hear like the 808 drums and everything too, and I'm like, this fits. I love this.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, and I hope to get it on a vinyl one day if you guys ever release it on vinyl. Do you plan on maybe chancing animation sequence mini, like even like a mini tour?
There were actually plans to have animation sequence open up the last Rings of Saturn tour. It was just kind of hectic with getting everyone that was involved, like schedules on synced up with each other, and then we also were rushing to get the full length album done for the self titled release. We wanted that done before the tour because we're going to do an instrumental tour. We want to have all new instrumental material to play live, so that was the main focus. And there
Mm-hmm.
were like plans for animation to open. Unfortunately, it didn't materialize, but um, yeah, in the future, I'm totally like I still have my sights set on it. It's just kind of there's other things that take priority over that. Obviously, with Rings of Saturn, I have another project I can't really talk about yet that I'm diving into full time as well. So, but I still have a lot of focus on animation sequence, making new music, playing some shows, probably some limited shows, but definitely want to take it live one day.
Yeah, man, I would love to hear those songs live.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, oh man, what was with you with your first like departure and coming back, and the Alta Ula album came out? What would be your like your favorite song off that, and what was your favorite song to play off that after like stepping back in? And did you enjoy that record? Do you enjoy playing songs off that?
I thought the record was great. I think my favorite song to play live from it was "The Relic." Is
That's
one that
great.
we played a lot when I first returned to the band. The biggest thing for when I came back though is just being able to play the songs I had a hand in writing for Little Kien that I never had a chance to play live
Yeah.
before I departed in 2014. So yeah, when I came back, it was just like we played Senseless Massacre, Godless Times, um, Lala So Exul, and a couple other ones from the album that I was waiting a long time to finally play. But yeah, the old two songs, thought the songwriting was very great on that album, and I think the Relic and what was the other one, Inadequate, were really fun to play live.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think those would probably be my two picks.
Oh yeah, like my favorite Rings record has always been Dinger. What would ah damn it, it was like track number 9. I remember the track name, but I can't even remember the freaking name of the song. It's ridiculous.
Immaculate Order.
Yes,
Yeah,
I that's probably my favorite Rings song. Period. Uh,
awesome. Yeah, that's that's a fun. We still play that one live. Yeah, that one's a great song to play.
Yeah, man. I that one and Utopia and Objected to Harvest. Like, and you guys were like kids when that came out too, which blows my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. We were. I was like 18 when we were in the studio, like putting that one together. When I
Yeah,
joined the band, there was a version of the album that Lucas had written 100%. But when I joined the band, I kind of just sprinkled a little bit of my flavor on top of it and added some riffs and solos here and there.
yeah,
So that was the first like record where I was a part of the process of putting together the album, and then Lugal Kien after that was the one where I had full songs that I was able to submit that I started from scratch, along with the songs that Lucas wrote.
right, right. Um, so how did you know Lucas before you joined Rings, or did you kind of just hear the first album and then kind of get in contact, or how did that really start?
So, a long time ago when the band first started, when it was just a three piece, and Lucas was like the main songwriter and the only guitarist, he put out a video. It's like a bet you can't play this type of like when people used to do that years ago, like,
Yeah.
oh, here's my craziest part that I wrote or whatever. And he made a video, and I was like the first person to respond to it, and I was still like 17 in high school. Like I'd only played guitar for maybe like 4 years, but I was like, yeah, I'll play it just because I felt like playing it. I had no intentions of joining the band or anything like that. So yeah, I just made the video, and I don't know, a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever it was after I made the video, he contacted me on YouTube. He's like, "Hey, kind of interested in a second guitarist. What do you think about that? Like, got some tour ideas potentially in the summer. Our vocalist is also a senior in high school, so once both of you graduate, would you want to tour and see how it goes?" So I was just kind of like, I didn't have many plans after high school. I was just playing in my own local band, writing and performing music live for that. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't have anything else better going on. I didn't have any crazy college plans besides community college and basic studies. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, yeah, I was like, screw it. Yeah, I'll go to California. I lived in Washington at the time in Spokane. And yeah, I just took a bus down there and tried out. And
That's
yeah, I
awesome.
started touring with them. Yep.
There you go, just like that, like right out of high school, and like you're already touring, and then make your first album with them. That's nuts, man. I'd give anything for that.
Yeah, it was a crazy time for sure. It was going from what the level I went a year before that to touring and doing the Dingier album and all that. It was a lot to take in. It was a huge learning experience for me. I was definitely an amateur. I was very green, I would say, and very just ready to be molded
Yeah,
into, being a pro musician and touring and representing a label and a management team and a band and stuff like that. So
yeah. So you guys are fully independent now, right? Like you're not
yeah.
like a major label. It's all you guys.
Yep, we are 100% DIY. The last Rings album, the self-titled instrumental album, was our first release independent and went very well for being independent. Nowadays, it's
Yeah,
very easy just to do it yourself, and with everything being online digital distribution, it's kind of easy to bypass what a label used to do for you. And like when it's different when it was like physical distribution and like album sales were really important and stuff like that, and like getting you on tours and things like that before the pandemic, like
yeah,
labels were very helpful. But it really depends what's appropriate for a band I feel like at the stage of life that the band is in. And it just made more sense for us to be independent now and to run things on our own. We already have our fans. We're not worried about you know getting a whole huge group of new fans from the help
yeah,
of like some other entity. It's just kind of like we have our fans, we know our fans, and we just want to make the music we want now and do some limited touring here and there. Touring's a lot different since the pandemic, so we get out when we can and just like we just do it when it's enjoyable.
yeah, man. And speaking of the pandemic from a couple of years ago, you guys were like overseas when that shit started, right? And then you guys had to
Yeah,
like vanish back home. And
yeah.
isn't some of your gear still out there, or did you guys get that back?
I eventually got it back, but yeah, the we only had like 3 or 4 dates left of that European tour to promote Jadim, and we were like right there close to the finish line, and then they were like, the problem was is they didn't. It was very vague, and there wasn't very much clarity on what was required of us or like what we were allowed to do while we were over there, like how much time we had to stay over there. It was just kind of like everyone needs to get out of there and get home, and like the world's
Yeah.
popping off. And I was just like, okay. And our tour manager is rushing to find flights. And the reason we had to leave our gear in Germany was because the only flights we could find on short notice were bags that had no option for checked bags or anything like that. It was just carry on.
Man.
So luckily, the backline company that we worked with were nice enough to hold on to our gear as long as we needed. And it took almost, I think it took about a year for me to finally pay like $800 or some extravagant amount to get customs to send my stuff over during the pandemic. And I finally got my guitar back, and it was my favorite guitar I've
No,
ever owned from Ligator, and I really wanted it back. And when I finally got it, I was ecstatic to have it back. And I know Mike Caputo, our drummer at the time, it took even longer, I think, for him to get his his kick pedals back, and I think some other stuff. But yeah, it was a hectic time for sure. I'm glad it's over.
yeah, for real. Like in where I'm from, I'm in Canada, and this was one of the last places for that shit to open back up. Like it was bad seeing everybody in the States having things open up, and we didn't even have lockdown lifted till April of this year. So
Man,
it was a doozy, but oh well, we're through it now, and it is what it is.
yeah. I mean, there's still remnants of it left, but it's at least we can get out of our little boxes now. We can we can go out in the world
Right?
a lot more than it was 2 years ago. So
Yeah, like I didn't even catch it till September of this year, and
mm-hmm.
like it was honestly not even that bad. It was just like a bit of a cold. Yeah, my cough was kind of more violent than usual, but really
Mm-hmm.
like I've been worse.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good to hear. Yeah, I was fortunate enough not to ever catch it. I was surprised I didn't with the crowds of people I was in getting back into the states during the start of it all, and then during the pandemic, I had to do some things where I had to travel still on those like limited flights that were really cheap, and there was only like maybe like a dozen people on a plane at a time. But still, even during those times, and not knowing how everything was mutating and changing and stuff, it was just always kind of this uncertainty in the air whenever you were traveling. So
yeah,
thankful I never came down with it or had any bad reaction. I know a lot of people were less fortunate than others and less lucky than others, and hearts go out to those people and their friends and family that
yeah.
negatively affected by the whole thing. Wish the whole thing just never happened. It screwed a lot of stuff up for everybody, but just gotta put your head down and grind through it and get to the other side.
Exactly. I'm more happy than anything I can go to shows again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's my girlfriend and I have gone to a couple shows recently since I did the last tour. Went and saw AFI, and
Oh, nice.
who else did we see? I think that was it. Yeah, we saw AFI, and then I just got tickets for that Metallica tour, but it's not till like 2024. So I'm just like, I don't really go to shows unless it's something that I like have not
Mhm.
seen yet, or it's something that I've been waiting to see for years. Because a lot of my favorite bands, like I've already toured with them. I've seen them like 30 times in a row in a month. Being on the road every day with them. Not saying that I get bored going to their shows or anything like that. It's just like when I play shows all the time and stuff, I just kind of wait to be a show goer for like really limited things that I'm like really, really excited about. So
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it's way different touring with a band and seeing them like play live every night, and then you get to chill with them afterwards. But it's like for a month or two on end when you buy the ticket and you go to it's a whole different thing. And
yeah.
and the Metallica thing too, like my first concert I ever went to, I was 13, and it was Machine Head opening for Metallica, and I was like,
Oh wow.
I didn't even like blink. I was like, it was nuts. But I'm definitely going to that tour, and like I love Metallica. I love that new song too. Like I haven't liked anything they put out like in a very very long time, but
Yeah.
potential with them on that. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really only going. because the Pantera reunion. I
Yeah,
think that'll be pretty sweet. I know a lot of people have their opinions on it and whatever, but
yeah,
I think it'll be cool to just hear their songs again with some of the original members again. So
yeah, absolutely. I saw the Pantera tribute act on the last Slayer tour with Phil and Selma, and I think it was at the Illegals, and
yeah,
it was
Phil, yeah,
yeah, that was still good, but I think this will be even better. And just my personal preference, I'd rather see that on the day one that I got than the bands on day two. Not saying knocking the other bands, but yeah, I'm stoked to
I'm
see Wolfgang Van Halen
yeah, I
as well
let
on that. Yeah,
let's just say I'm agreeing with you on the day two acts, but we won't go there.
yeah.
um,
No, like I think Ice Nine Kills and Five Finger Death Punch, like they're great for their own for what they do, but yeah, no, my taste is with and where I what I grew up with,
yeah,
like you said, seeing as much of Pantera that we possibly can see of the original members. Like I'm
yeah,
stoked for that. Mainly stoked for Metallica because Metallica is the one band that got me started
same
in this
here.
whole music journey thing, and I have never seen them live, so I'm excited to see the old stuff, and I'm excited for the new album. I liked some songs off of Hardwired, the last time they did before that, but I think this album, I have a feeling, will be top to bottom like their most solid release in a long time. So
Yeah, like I saw somebody did that, like they do this all the time with songs like the mashups. And somebody mashed up like Hit the Lights off Kill 'Em All with I think the vocals of this new song, and I'm like, holy shit, this is actually fitting. I'm like, wow. But
yeah,
yeah, I have potential, man. And coming from, yeah, Metallica really started everything for me too. I've been drummer for almost 18 years, and I got into Metallica at like 12, I think, and Justice for All has always been my favorite. But
oh yeah, and Justice for All, and I think Ride the Lightning would probably be my two.
yeah, Ride the
Um,
Lightning. Yeah, I love that one, and Master of Puppets, obviously.
oh yeah, obviously, yeah. The first four or five are obviously amazing. I still there's something about each of their albums I still like though. Um, but yeah, everyone has their opinion on. They have a very uh, dynamic discography, I would say. Is it?
And I'll talk about another band now for a minute. Which one of you guys in Rings of Saturn chose to cover "No Pity for a Coward" on Lugal?
Um, I think that was more of a thing between Ian and Lucas because
Okay,
Ian was a huge fan of Mitch Lucker, and yeah, Mitch Lucker is a big supporter of us, and shouted us out in a couple interviews years ago when we were first starting out, and he was saying,
interview. I don't listen to any metal like ever, but there's a record by Rings of Saturn. I don't know what the fuck's it called, but it's super badass. Rings of Saturn's sick.
Yeah, Rings of Saturn.
You're not listening to metal?
I never listen to metal because I'm in a metal band, so I play metal all the time. The last thing I want to do is listen to metal and have it inspire what I'm doing in my band, and I don't want to sound like anybody else. I want people to be behind us and sound like us.
and when he passed, like it was sad, and we, wanted to do a tribute to it, and yeah, Lucas was on board with it, and Ian obviously was on board with it, and we just kind of ripped it on the album, and still one of our most popular songs, even though it's not our song. We have people
yeah.
sometimes at shows play "No Pity," and I was like, that's not us, but appreciate it.
I thought it was sick when you guys toured with Suicide Silence, and you guys would do that song here and there. It was like you, Suicide Silence, and Volumes, and I love
Yeah,
all three of those bands, man. I'm a huge Volumes fan too, but when it was what tour is that? Rage Fest?
Rage Fest. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Attila Rage
Oh,
Fest. Yeah, that was the first tour I did back with the band in 2018, and yeah, that tour is an absolute blast. We had Yo from Japan filling in on guitar with us, and that was
right.
absolute pleasure to have him with us. He's probably the most insane guitarist I've ever had the privilege of playing with. So yeah, that was amazing tour. Every band on that tour crushed it. Spite, Attila, Volumes, and Suicide. It was an awesome time.
Yeah, man. Spite's awesome too. I just started getting into them like right around when the pandemic hit. And I'm like, why am I finding out all these cool bands when I can't fucking see them?
Yeah. Yeah.
But uh what are you listening to nowadays? Um, just in
Um,
general.
Nowadays I listen to very chilled out music. It's, I listen to this artist called Hong Kong Express. He's also been a part of this other project called 2814. It's just like chill ambient electronic stuff. And I like to just drive around the car and like play that, you know. I already make like metal music and like technical music, you know,
Yeah,
already. So I tend not to really listen to that in my free time. I like to decompress and listen to really like different stuff. So yeah, those are two artists or two projects of the same artist I've been listening to a lot lately. This artist here, I got the shirt on, Drab Majesty.
okay.
They opened up for AFI, and they're a two-piece, kind of like an '80s throwback thing, but with a lot of cool like guitar and like keyboard and stuff. And they're
Nice.
great too. Lately, I've been having the kind of a nostalgia kick with when it comes to metal. Like listen to Metallica, I listen a little bit of Pantera in the car today. Actually, that's the band I forgot to mention I saw recently. Iron Maiden, I saw 2 months ago, and listened to some of their albums again. Took a break from them for a long time. I exhausted myself when I was younger, listening to Iron Maiden, Metallica. Now I'm coming back. Now that
Mhm.
I've taken some years off, now I'm like, okay, I'll put on Peace of Mind or Power Slave and jam it. So
Yeah, dude. I love that you mentioned those two records. My favorite Iron Maiden song since I was a little kid has always been "Wasted Years," and like I can't get enough of like "Peace of Mind," and like one of the first CDs I ever got was "Number of the Beast,"
oh yeah,
and yeah, like I've never gotten the chance to see Maiden. I like I'll always like if I ever get the chance, absolutely. Like I've seen Metallica, Slayer. I've seen everyone in the big four, just not at the same time,
mm,
obviously. But
yeah,
yeah, I'd just love to see Maiden because you just never know with these older bands anymore. You don't know when they're just gonna like call it a quits nowadays, except if you're Motley Crue and want to do like 50 reunion tours or whatever. But
yeah. No, yeah, you never know. There's no guarantees with life with anything, you know.
right.
So I when I had the chance to see Iron Maiden, I jumped on that. When Slayer were like, we're having our final tour, and I never saw them. I saw them, and then I seen Anthrax. That out of the big four, the only bands I haven't seen are Megadeth and Metallica. So
Oh,
Metallica will be in 2024, and maybe sometime when I have the chance, hopefully I can see Megadeth. I really enjoyed their new record. The guitar play on that album was fantastic. So
yeah, I was
um,
very impressed.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, as far as metal goes, yeah, lately it's just been kind of the throwbacks for me, taking a break from the modern stuff and just kind of going back to my roots and seeing you know, seeing that inspiration kind of, put a light bulb on in my head again for songwriting and just as a listener and a fan as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when you're like a musician, you gotta like embrace and have an open mind with all kinds of music, no matter what you play too. Like I hate when people are just closed minded and they're into their only metal and metal's it and it's just like, well, there's a lot of like, you know, metal that's based off hip hop and
Mhm.
blues and jazz and nobody can realize it, right? But is how long did you tour with Enterprise Earth?
Oh, with Enterprise Earth, it's about a year. It was in 2016.
Okay.
Um, I did the Carnifex tour, the Whitechapel tour, and the Summer Slaughter with Cannibal Corpse headlining. And that was
I
my favorite tour I did with those guys. And yeah, I had a great time with Enterprise Earth. They started in the same area that I grew up in Spokane. The original songwriter BJ hit me up when I wasn't doing anything or touring at the time. At the time, I was actually working for the United States Postal Service as a mailman, believe it
wow.
or not, for a little bit of time when I was taking a break from touring. I was like, yeah, I need a job, and knew someone through family and got a job. And I was like, okay, sweet. Well, my life kind of worked its way back into music again. And then I got the offer, and I was like, yeah, these guys have got some hype behind them. Their new album six, sure, why not? I'll do it. Yeah, and they're Yeah, it was a great time.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. What gear are you using right now?
Um, for now, I am what is it called? G300. The G300 Lite. It's a Moore pedal. Been using that for live shows. It's kind of like an Axe FX or like a Kemper or something like that, but it's just like condensed down into a little pedal. And the reason I use that live is just because it makes travel really easy. If we have to play internationally, I just pop it in my backpack and just go. Really, the only thing I have to check is my guitar case. So
Yeah.
I do that to prevent any kind of things of interrupting the show, since I kind of run the live show for us. I don't want. There's been horror stories I've seen online of musicians like they damage this gear, Delta or United Airlines or Alaska or whatever. They damage this gear. Like now we need help getting this stuff retrieved and stuff like that. So I try to avoid any disasters and unfortunate situations like that by just condensing all my gear into a backpack and being able to go anywhere with it and have it on me at all times. So if
Yeah,
something breaks,
right.
it's my fault, you know.
Yep.
So,
Now, was guitar your first instrument?
um, yeah, pretty much. I actually bounced back and forth between guitar and bass when I was younger. Believe it or
Okay.
not, like when I first started playing guitar, I was playing like, 90s grunge shit like Nirvana and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the problem was I had a hard time learning how to palm mute for some reason. So then that's why I was like, I had a friend in middle school who had a band and they needed a bass player. So I was like, I'll play bass. And I learned how to play bass with my fingers. But then when I got good enough at that, I tried to play guitar again. I was like, oh, now this makes more sense that I spent some time on bass for whatever reason. It just kind of clicked. And then I started playing guitar after that. So it was guitar and bass back and forth when I started and then got comfortable with guitar and settled on it.
Nice. No, I that was the thing too. I wanted to be a guitar player and not a drummer. And my parents signed me up for lessons. I and he's like, "Well, do you want to learn some drums?" Like I'm a drummer. I'm like, "Sure." And he never taught me a one guitar, anything about it, nothing. I don't even think he had a guitar. And he had a big ass drum set and I was like, "Cool, whatever." I was like 10 years old and ever since then I've been playing, so I just think it's meant to be. I don't know. There's not a lot of drummers around my area, so I take it as a blessing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's the population of drummers is much lower than there is to guitar players and maybe even vocalists too. Everyone seems to be really stoked to do vocals and stuff now. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's like bass players and drummers are kind of a rarity, and like for a lot of the professional drummers out there, I feel bad because like everyone needs them, so they're in like five bands at once touring usually.
right. Look at
So
Dave Lombardo. He's in like fucking 20 bands.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like our old drummer Mike Caputo, we're touring with him. He'd do double duty with us and Traders when they were touring with us in Europe,
Oh,
and
nice.
then now he's doing Brand of Sacrifice, and then in between he filled in for Enterprise Earth.
Nice.
And there's other guys out there like Bryce Butler, I see with tons of different bands. I think he's doing Shadow of Intent full time now. And um, who's another guy? Gabe Sieber. He's been out there at Decrepit Birth and Obscura and some other bands. So like hats off to those guys.
Yeah,
Taking one for the
damn.
team and making sure tours happen
Yeah, right.
with multiple bands. Yeah.
Speaking of all these bands you toured with, is there one tour that will always stick out that you're like, that's my favorite tour I've ever done?
Um, I'd say from a fan point of view, the 2013 Summer Slaughter we did was for me as a music fan was a big highlight for me because you know I don't know how old I was at the time, maybe 19 or 20, but I was first time being able to tour Periphery, Animals Leaders. Um, who else is on there? Ballard is Murder, Revocation, Cal Decapitation, like all these bands that I was a
Wow.
huge fan of, and just all at once, it's like, oh, you get to tour with them all in one tour. Oh, and Dillinger Escape Plan they headlined. It was
Damn.
just like it was just a stacked tour, and it was a very diverse lineup. It wasn't just like death metal or tech death or deathcore. It was
Right.
a wide variety. I think Norma Jean was on there too. It was just a very diverse Summer Slaughter tour compared to other years. But
Mhm.
overall, favorite tour I would say was the 2019 Jadim US tour we did, just because everyone on the lineup was just like homies and friends. Like
Yeah.
Brain of Sacrifice, Enterprise Earth, Angel Maker, and Rings. And this tour just went super smooth, and it was just a really fun time, and everyone had a blast on it. I think that would be my favorite tour I've done so far, overall. So
Nice, man. That and I love that they switched the bands up in the 2013 tour. It gives it so much more color and so much like more to check out, and you're not seeing the same band over and over again. That's
yeah,
crazy. Dillinger Escape Plan. I would love to see. That's nuts.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That was a treat. That was absolutely a treat to tour with them.
absolutely. Uh, well, man, that about wraps everything up. You got anything you would like to put out there and have people check
Um,
out?
just be on the lookout for new animation sequence music coming out soon. Working hard on the full length. Trying to get that recorded and properly packaged together for release soon. Got a couple other projects coming up that can't really talk about yet because they're not announced, but just be on the lookout of all my social media accounts, and some stuff's going to be popping off soon. And of course, next year there's more plans for Rings of Saturn music and content and possibly some shows. So yeah, just be on the lookout for my current projects, any updates on those, and some announcements on some new stuff.
Fuck yeah, man. All right, man. It was nice talking to you. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to meet you and talk to you as well. You have a good one.
All right, you too, Joel. Take care.